So, did you know that replacing just 45 minutes a week of grueling gym work with targeted electrical impulses can yield an identical 1.7 to 2% sprint speed increase in highly trained national level swimmers?
Yeah, that is, it's a statistic that honestly made me do a double take when I first read the literature. I mean, especially when you consider the caliber of these athletes.
Right, they aren't exactly beginners.
Exactly. We aren't talking about, newbies experiencing newbie games. We are talking about individuals who are already operating at the absolute upper limits of human performance. That place where fighting for just a tenth of a second can take months of agonizing effort.
Wow. Which, I mean, that sets up three massive questions for our deep dive today. I want to know, number one, can electricity really match heavy barbells for building explosive athletic speed?
Okay. Yep.
And number two, what actually happens to your body when you bypass the brain's normal commands to recruit muscle fibers?
Also a huge one.
Right. And number three, which is probably the one everyone listening wants to know, how long do these electronic games actually last once you stop using the technology?
Yeah, those are the exact variables we really need to unpack today.
Okay.
So, because the science we have on this is meticulously documented, and to be blunt, it challenges a lot of the conventional assumptions we hold about athletic conditioning.
It really throws a wrench in the whole no pain, no gain mentality, you know?
Yeah.
And before we get into the heavy data and figure out how this all works, I want to mention that today's deep dive into sport science and muscle research is supported by ORIEMSDOT FitT, makers of a muscle stimulator enhanced with EMS technology.
Right.
We are going to look strictly at the research, the biological mechanisms, and the facts today, so let's just jump right in.
Awesome. So to truly grasp the weight of this research, you have to put yourself in the shoes, or rather, I guess, the goggles of a competitive swimmer.
Okay, I'm visualizing it.
Picture this scenario. It is 4:30 in the morning. You are standing on the cold, wet tiles of a pool deck. You constantly smell like chlorine, and your shoulders are just absolutely screaming from endless laps.
I can almost feel that deep, aching fatigue. Swimmers put in an incredible amount of volume. It's just hours and hours of staring at a black line at the bottom of the pool.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
In the specific study we were exploring today, the baseline for these athletes was swimming about 30 kilometers every single week.
Man, 30 kilometers.
It's an enormous, unrelenting mechanical load on the shoulder joints. But here is the brutal dilemma of the sport. If you want to win a 50-meter sprint, you desperately need more upper body power.
Because you have to shave mere fractions of a second off your time to get on the podium.
I do.
Because in a 50-meter race, there's no pacing strategy, right? It's just pure explosive output from the starting block all the way to the wall.
Precisely. Your propulsive efficiency in a sprint like that relies heavily on the contractile qualities of your muscles and the sheer torque of your upper limbs, specifically your latissimus dorsi, so, those massive pulling muscles in your back.
Right, the lats.
But think about the friction here. If that exhausted swimmer goes into the weight room after a grueling pool session and starts grinding through heavy pull-ups and lat pull-downs, they are stacking even more mechanical wear and tear onto an already overloaded joint system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's how you get swimmer shoulder, which is incredibly common and can entirely derail an athlete's season.
Okay. Yeah, I see the tension there. So you need the muscle to get stronger, but the joint holding the muscle is essentially waving a white flag.
Exactly.
So how do you build that explosive horsepower without destroying the joint hardware in the process? I'm guessing that exact dilemma is why sports scientists started looking outside the traditional weight room, for alternative training methods.
That is the exact catalyst for this research. Scientists wanted to know if they could elicit those necessary muscular adaptations, the raw strength and power, without the accompanying joint strain that traditional heavy lifting absolutely requires.
Which brings us to the actual data. How did they test this without risking the athletes' careers? Let's look at the methodology.
Okay, so the data comes from a highly rigorous 2012 study. It was conducted at the Laboratory of Exercise-Induced Physiological Adaptations at the University of Poitiers in France.
Oh, wow.
And it was published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research. France has a very long, very meticulous record of sports science research, and the methodology here is incredibly tight.
And just to clarify for everyone, they weren't testing amateur fitness enthusiasts, right?
Not at all. The researchers took 24 national-level competitive swimmers. It was an even split, so 12 men and 12 women, and they were all French National 1 level athletes.
Okay, so these are serious contenders.
Yeah, these are sprinters whose average 50-meter times were sitting at about 75% of the world record. That distinction is actually critical.
Why is that?
Well, if I take someone off the couch, almost any intervention will make them faster. But squeezing an extra 1% of performance out of an elite athlete is notoriously difficult, simply because their bodies are already so adapted to the stress.
Right, the law of diminishing returns is already hitting them like a brick wall. So we have these 24 elite swimmers. How did they structure the test to see if electricity could replace iron?
They split the athletes into 3 groups for a 4-week training block. Now, the baseline of suffering, as I call it, remained constant. Every single group maintained their standard pool training.
So that brutal 30 kilometers a week in the water, no one got to skip the actual swimming.
Right, nobody skips the pool. But here is where it diverges. Group 1 added a traditional dry land strength training program. We are talking about heavy pull-ups and pulley draws, working at 80 to 90% of their 1-rep max.
Wait, real quick, for anyone who doesn't live in a gym, 1 rep max just means the absolute maximum amount of weight you can physically pull for a single repetition, right?
Yes, spot on.
So 80 to 90% means they were lifting very heavy, very close to their absolute limit.
It was a heavy, highly taxing resistance program. Now, Group 2 replaced that dry land weight training entirely.
Okay.
Instead of pull-ups, they used targeted electrical stimulation on their latissimus dorsi muscles. And Group 3 was the control group. They just did the standard swimming with 0 extra strength work, just to ensure that the swimming alone wasn't causing any sudden spikes in speed.
So we have a pure side-by-side race between traditional iron and modern electricity, all laid over a baseline of intense swimming. What actually happened?
Well, let's look at the rhythm of how they applied this stimulation, because it's pretty fascinating. In stage 1 of the experiment, the electrical stimulation group only did 3 sessions a week, and each session was barely 15 minutes long.
Wait, only 15 minutes?
Yeah, just 15.
I'm struggling to picture how that translates to explosive water speed. That is incredibly brief compared to a standard, hour-long gym session.
It is hyper-efficient. The intensity of the electrical impulse was strong. It contracted the muscles for 5 seconds, followed by 15 seconds of rest, and they repeated that 45 times.
Oh, wow, okay.
And the athletes themselves control the intensity dial, keeping it at about 80 to 90% of what felt like their maximal voluntary contraction.
Yeah.
Basically, pushing it as hard as they could tolerate without it becoming painful.
I think when a lot of people hear about this technology, they picture something out of a 1950s sci-fi movie, like suction cups, giant wires, a glowing machine in a laboratory.
That's a very common misconception. And in stage 2 of understanding this, we really have to clarify that modern application looks nothing like that.
Right.
While early clinical settings were bulky, when athletes apply these methods today, they use wireless, pad-based systems. These adhere directly to the skin to precisely target specific muscles, like the lats, without restricting natural range of motion or requiring a tangle of cables.
Which obviously makes it much easier to integrate into a real-world training room. So they go through this routine for 4 weeks. 3 15-minute sessions a week of targeted contraction. What was the stunning result in stage 3? Who won the race?
The results were genuinely stunning. After 4 weeks, the traditional strength group, so the ones doing the heavy joint-taxing pull-ups, got 2% faster in their 50-meter sprint.
Okay.
The electrical stimulation group got 1.7% faster.
Wow.
Statistically speaking, those numbers represent a tie. Both methods worked beautifully compared to the control group, which saw no change.
Hold on. Is this too good to be true?
Good question. Let's look at the study design.
Because honestly, 15 minutes of sitting still and contracting muscles yielded the same explosive water speed as actual pull-ups. It sounds a bit like magic, and biology doesn't do magic, so I feel like I'm missing something.
It definitely isn't magic, and the nuance here is absolutely crucial. This technology is a supplement. It is not a replacement for swimming. Remember the baseline here. These athletes still swam 10 sessions a week. They were still putting in 30 kilometers in the water. EMS is not going to turn a couch potato into an Olympic swimmer.
Right, they were still doing the primary skill work, but if they both got roughly 2% faster, did they get faster in the exact same way? Or did the electricity change something fundamental about their mechanics?
That is where the researchers found something incredible. When they analyzed the technical parameters of the swimmers, they found that the traditional strength group actually saw an increase in their stroke length.
Meaning they pulled more water per individual stroke.
Exactly. But the electrical stimulation group did not see an increase in stroke length.
Oh, that's fascinating. So if the EMS group didn't improve their stroke length, how on earth did they match the speed of the weightlifting group?
Because of what happened deep inside the muscle tissue itself. The researchers used a machine called an isokinetic dynamometer, to measure the swimmers.
Okay, ELI 5 time. Explain, like, I'm 5. What is an isokinetic dynamometer?
Fair enough. Think of it as a highly advanced robotic arm that you wrestle against. It measures the actual torque, the rotational force of your joints, while keeping the speed of your movement perfectly constant.
Okay.
It eliminates momentum entirely, so it measures pure, unadulterated muscle force.
Got it. So it's the ultimate lie detector for muscle strength. What did the machine reveal?
It revealed that the electrical stimulation group saw massive improvements in peak torque, particularly in their eccentric muscle strength.
An eccentric is...
Eccentric strength is the force your muscle produces while it is actively lengthening, like when
Yeah.
you are slowly lowering yourself down from a pull-up. The electricity gave them an incredible boost in pure raw power.
Wow.
You still have to put in the pool work to maintain your technique, but the stimulation gives you an oversized engine to drive that technique faster.
Okay, the picture's coming together perfectly now. The endless hours in the water teach the nervous system how to swim. It builds the technique. But the targeted stimulation builds the actual engine that powers the movement. So if I'm a competitive swimmer, I immediately see the value here. This is a game changer for saving the swimmer's shoulder. You can build raw upper body power during heavy training blocks without adding mechanical load to the joint.
Yeah.
But what if I'm just an everyday fitness learner, someone who just wants to be smarter about gaining strength?
The translation for the general listener is actually a very clear blueprint for building explosive strength safely. But it requires 3 non-negotiable elements.
What are they?
First is consistency. The study used 3 dedicated sessions a week. You can't just do it once and expect miracles. Second is progressive intensity. You have to push the muscular contraction to that 80 to 90% threshold of your maximum effort. It can't just be a gentle tickle.
You really have to challenge the tissue.
Yes. And third, you need realistic expectations. This technology heavily supports your active training. It aids in your overall fitness goals, but it does not replace the absolute necessity of actually doing your sport or activity.
It sounds like the ultimate accessory movement. It supplements the hard work you are already doing. And if you are listening to this and wondering how you might safely integrate this science into your own routine without the hassle of old school tech, ORIEMS DOT FitT offers a muscle stimulator enhanced with EMS technology.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they use those convenient wireless pad-based systems we talked about earlier, which are reported to support muscular development. It makes integrating this kind of targeted work incredibly accessible for a normal routine.
The accessibility of the technology has certainly caught up with the science in recent years, which makes these findings highly relevant across the board.
Definitely. I think the most memorable way to frame this whole concept is this. EMS doesn't teach your muscles how to swim. It hacks your biology to give your body more explosive horsepower without the joint tax.
That is a very accurate, punchy summary.
Hmm.
And honestly, the biological mechanism behind why it is able to hack your system so effectively is perhaps the most engaging fact in all of this research.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it has to do with the fundamental rule of how our brains naturally recruit muscle fibers.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting. I know muscles aren't just one solid piece of meat. They are made of different fibers. Break down this biological rule for us.
Under normal, voluntary exercise conditions, our bodies follow something called Henneman's size principle. Imagine your muscles are composed of different types of fibers. You have small, slow-twitch fibers that are highly efficient and great for endurance.
Right.
And you have massive, fast-twitch fibers that generate incredible explosive power, but they tire out very quickly.
Kind of like the difference between a marathon runner's physique and a powerlifter's physique.
Exactly. Now, to control these fibers, your nervous system uses something called motor units. A motor unit is simply a single nerve pathway and all the individual muscle fibers it connects to and commands.
Gotcha.
Henneman's size principle dictates that when you start lifting something, your brain is incredibly conservative and efficient. It always recruits the small, slow-twitch motor units first.
That makes sense.
It only calls on the big, explosive, fast-twitch motor units when the load gets intensely heavy and the small fibers are screaming that they can no longer handle it. Your brain essentially hoards the fast-twitch fibers in reserve.
So usually the brain makes you shift through gears 1, 2, and 3, but this technology causes disorderly recruitment. It bypasses the brain, skips the gears, and launches you straight into 5th gear, grabbing those explosive fast-twitch fibers instantly.
That is a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
Yes, the researchers refer to it exactly as non-selective or disorderly recruitment. Because the electrical impulse is coming from completely outside the central nervous system, it doesn't care at all about Henneman's size principle.
Wow.
The external current easily penetrates the tissue and triggers those large, powerful motor units right out of gate.
Wait, even if you aren't lifting a heavy load? Even at lower force levels?
Correct, and that is the hack. This is exactly why the swimmers in the study saw such significant increases in their peak torque,
Mhm.
particularly in that eccentric strength we discussed.
Right, right.
Fast twitch fibers are heavily responsible for eccentric movements, and the technology preferentially targets them from second one of the session.
It's literally forcing the body to prioritize the exact type of muscle fiber you need to explode off the block in a 50-meter sprint without forcing you to exhaust all your slow-twitch endurance fibers first.
And that specific biological bypass is the precise mechanism that allowed a 15-minute stationary pad session to match a grueling hour-long gym workout in terms of pure speed outcomes. It is hyper-targeted efficiency.
Incredible. We have covered some amazing ground today, from the pool deck to the intricacies of motor units. Let's circle back and concisely answer those three massive questions we set up at the very beginning of the deep dive.
Let's do it. So question one was, can electricity really match heavy barbells for building explosive athletic speed?
And the verdict.
The data from the Poitiers study says yes. In a rigorous side-by-side comparison, the EMS protocol yielded a 1.7% increase compared to a 2% increase from barbells. Statistically, for elite sprint speed gains, they are identical.
Mind-blowing. Okay, question two was about the biology. What happens to your body when you bypass the brain's normal commands?
You trigger disorderly recruitment. Bypassing the brain's natural conservative sequencing allows the external electrical impulse to recruit your explosive fast-twitch fibers instantly. You completely bypass the slow-twitch endurance fibers that your body normally activates first.
And the final question, which is arguably the most important for anyone trying to actually build a long-term training routine, how long do these electronic gains actually last once you pull the pads off and stop using the technology?
So the researchers didn't just test them on the last day. They tested the swimmers 4 weeks after the stimulation session stopped.
Oh, wow.
The study proved that the gains in peak torque and the improvements in sprint speed held completely steady. There was absolutely no drop-off in performance a full month after cessation.
Which is the ultimate proof of real, lasting physiological adaptation. The muscle didn't just get temporarily pumped up with blood, it's structurally and neurologically changed.
The adaptations were entirely retained, which makes it a highly viable tool for athletes looking to peak for a specific competition or maintain strength during a high-fatigue training block.
It makes you wonder, if we can safely bypass the brain's natural limits to recruit muscle like this, what other biological safeguards are holding back our physical potential simply because our nervous system prefers efficiency over power? It's a fascinating concept to mull over during your next workout. We want to thank you for bringing your curiosity to this deep dive today. And a final gentle reminder that today's exploration of sports science was brought to you by ORIEMS-DOT-FIT one last time as the provider of this muscle stimulator enhanced with EMS technology. If you love understanding real research without the fluff, this is your space. Please follow our podcast, leave a review, and join our Facebook page at Health Research Digest. For more details, the latest and most important research papers, simplifying blog posts, and direct links to all original studies, visit our website at ORIEMS-DOT-FEEFT.